Welcome to episode 69 of the Hoopsfix Podcast with me, your host, Sam Nita, full-time British basketball advocate. And on this week's show, we have another legend of the game. His name is regularly mentioned when we talk about some of the most talented players to come through the UK. It is Ajou Deng, the older brother of Luol Deng, who obviously we all know about, but his story is a little less told. He ended up in the UK, age 15, 16, again, fled the civil war in Sudan, ended up in Egypt for 3 years where he picked up the game before coming to the UK and playing with Brixton Topcats, before then going to the States where he received a massive amount of attention, ended up at UConn where he won a national championship and had a 4-year college career whilst battling through some pretty serious foot injuries, which you'll hear all about, and then going on to a pro career predominantly in the BBL here in the UK. But his story is incredible, and he's mentioned so much as a player that was way ahead of his time, 6'11", could handle the ball, that I thought it would be great to get him on here to talk about his story. It proved to be super interesting, so I'm sure that you will get a lot out of it, as I did. Before we get into the show, as always, please take 2 seconds to check out our Patreon account, patreon.com/hoopsfix, patreon.com/HOOPSFIX. There you can sign up to give us a monthly contribution of as much or as little as you like that helps us do the work that we're doing. We're trying to move away from freelancing. We're trying to move away from selling our time for money and instead coming directly to our audience for you to reach into your pockets, give us a couple of quid a month, an amount of money that you wouldn't even notice leaving your account, but goes a long way in helping us fund the work that we're doing. So please take 2 seconds, check it out, patreon.com/hoopsfix. As always, you can reach out to me on every single social media platform at Hoopsfix. If you want some personal, private correspondence, drop me an email, sam@hoopsfix.com. And as always, on YouTube, if you're watching, definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about Ajou's story and his incredible talent as well. Hit up YouTube and go and look at some of the clips that still exist, and you'll see why everyone was raving about him. Anyway, that's enough from me. Here is this week's show with me and Ajou Deng. Ajou, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, like I was saying before we start recording, this is something I have wanted to do for so long. You're one of the names that consistently comes up when I talk about legends that have come through these shores and played in the UK. And I think there's so much to get into, and I think people will really enjoy sort of hearing your story. So I guess I always start at the beginning. Now, obviously, we kind of know a little bit about the early days, but I would love to go back there and talk about kind of how you were first exposed to basketball, those early sort of stages of your basketball career.
Ooh, let me go back. It's been a while since I've been talking about this, but we started playing basketball actually when we lived in Egypt. At the time when we were in Sudan, we have a lot of issues with politically. So we had to move to Egypt at the time, all of my siblings. So when I started basketball is with Manute Bol. Actually, me and my older brother Deng Deng, we hear about Manute Bol. Manute Bol used to come to Egypt at the time. He was playing in the NBA. So we are kids. I was about maybe 12, 13. So we just used to go and watch him play, and staying down there. The next year, we stopped picking up the basketball. And after that, that's how we started playing basketball. Actually, it's because of Manute Bol and all of the South Sudanese guys that used to come back from the U.S.
At that time, was Manute in the NBA, and he was coming back in the summers and sort of trying to run whether it's camp sessions and whatever else, or was it still very early on in his career?
No, he was. I'm not sure, but I think he was in the middle of his career. So he used to come back to Egypt. He actually came back maybe around 2 or 3 times while we were there. The first time is when we were just and watch him. The second time we picked up the basketball at that time. So when he came back, we actually started joining in, and he started showing us a couple of drills here and stuff like that, and how to do layups and how to shoot. And the year after that, when he came back, he saw us improving, and that's when we took off. And that's the time we left to go to London.
When we talk about that sort of environment that you were playing in, like us in the UK, we have regular complaints about the facilities and the setup of basketball. But obviously in Egypt, I guess it was very different to what we have in the UK. Kind of, what was the environment that you were playing in? Those sort of first experiences of basketball.
It was kind of difficult. Obviously, facilities are the main thing. Where we were at. Actually, it was like it's a bunch of us who played basketball, maybe like 10 of us or something like that. But we played in a church, and that church just allowed us to play there maybe twice or three times a week. For like an hour or 2 hours or something like that. So it was difficult, but I fell in love with the game right away. So me and my older brother. So what I used to do is wake up early in the morning before I go to school, and I would just run with the basketball in my hand. Just dribbling all the way to get there. But when I get there, I only got like 10 minutes or something like that to shoot. So I just shoot or do whatever. I run right back, and then just put my shower, put my clothes on. I gotta go to school. So it's just finding different ways to love what you do, kind of thing, And with that, I mean, it's not easy, but we find ways,
And what was Manute telling you about his NBA experiences? Like, kind of, what was your awareness of, I guess, where basketball could take you in terms of a career or anything else? Like, was it in your mind, this could help change my situation, or was it very much just playing for the love of the game?
First, we started for the love of the game. The first thing is, like, obviously we used to play football. We used to play soccer. That's what we used to love. And when Manute came, we started falling in love with the game. But it's at that time, it's really, you don't have much to see NBA. You don't know there's no tapes of this, anything. That's just the first introduction about the game. It's like, this is how the game is played. Manute is playing in the NBA. He's famous, he's making a lot of money. You're like, what the hell is basketball, kind of thing, So it just we got introduced, and then we start watching tapes, because Manute will bring tapes. He will bring like jerseys and stuff like that. So we start watching tapes, and I remember watching the Michael Jordan stuff, Come Fly With Me and stuff like that. So we'll have one tape or two tapes, and then we just we watch it over and over and over. And you just memorize every type of move. You go and do the same thing over and over, because that's all and that's all you're watching. So it becomes like that type of thing. And when you start watching, and the first exposure is Manute, and the first exposure to the tapes were Michael Jordan, and you see Michael Jordan, and you see Michael Jordan doing stuff in the air and flying and stuff like that. So that's how we fell in love in the game.
Was there any things that stick out in your mind, key things that to this day Manute taught you that you've kind of carried through with you through your entire sort of life or career?
He always says, love the game will love you back, So pretty much it's just going in there, do the best you can do. If you love it, you put your heart into it. It will, universe has a way to direct you in places that, that you want to accomplish. In the sense, if you want to accomplish something, you will get the things if you put the hard work into it. So those are the lessons that I always it still is stuck up with me to today.
When you talk about the talent level that you had and, around you and your peers that were playing in Egypt, was it clear that there was raw talent there? Like, did you know, obviously now we see, because of the internet and everything else, we see the talent that's in Sudan and, other countries in Africa, that this raw sort of untapped talent. Was it clear to you back then that there was a lot of guys there that, had real potential for this sport if they had the right infrastructure, coaching and everything else around them to be able to succeed?
Yes. I feel that there's a lot of guys who has talent, and if they have what most of the kids have today, they will get the best out of their talent as well, as much as being seen. Because when I played in Egypt, is very and even in England is it's hardly you hear players from Europe or from Africa, stuff like that, getting an exposure to to go to the U.S. because everybody's dream is the U.S. So when you get a college offer, it's like everybody's like, oh my God, Division I, you're going to Division I. That's something incredible. That's alone is success, type of thing, So pass forward, the game has changed so much in terms of you can be seen anywhere. You have if you want to enhance or you want to improve your game, you have all kind of you can go to YouTube. You can see the whole game. You can figure out a lot of things. You can really if you have the work ethic, you can develop a lot. So with that said, it's different time, but it's not as easy as well for this generation to say because. I usually say it's easy and it's hard. It's easy in the term where the game is you can get better. You can improve your game. The game has changed so much with like speed. If you have talent, you have the skills, you will do well. It's also it's difficult because it's so many damn players now. It's like every position you'll find so many. So it's a lot of guys who can play who not in the NBA, So it becomes like, what do you do now? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you, what do you do? Like you work on your game, you study the game more. There's so many things that, you have to be like totally focused in what you want to do because it's harder to get in.
So in terms of, going back to your journey, you've had to leave Sudan. You're in Egypt. You're in Egypt for 3 years, I believe, right?
About 4 years. Yeah.
4 years, and then the situation sort of deteriorated, and then it was like the whole family managed to get political asylum in England. Is that correct? Kind of what were your memories? And so what age were you at this point? Did you originally left Sudan and went to Egypt when you were 11ish? Was that right?
I came to 11. I came to London when I turned 16. When I just turned 16, I think it's 95, 96, around that time. And then from there, I was a year and a half at Brixton, and then I got to go to the U.S. and I got to go to St. Thomas more, and then from there I was coming back and forth every summer and whatnot, rough and ready times.
Which we definitely need to get onto. One of the things that one of the articles, I can't remember which one it was, but Jimmy Rogers was speaking, and he was saying that when you first came to England, you went to Crystal Palace and they actually turned you away.
Yeah, it's just we lived in Wimbledon when we first got to the UK, and from Wimbledon. We were just trying to find out where we can play basketball. We didn't know anything, We just and I think my brother Deng found out about YMCA in Wimbledon. So we used to go there, and we just went there, and we saw a bunch of guys playing. It's really a small court, but it was like really nice run because it's like we haven't played for quite some time, and we met with Wayne Henry at the time. Wayne is the one that took us to Crystal Palace first. We were just to have a run. And I remember Crystal Palace and the coach, he didn't take us pretty much, that we are like soft or something like that. And then we start going to Brixton. And when we went to Brixton, obviously Jimmy would take any kid, So Jimmy welcomed us with open arms. And since then it's been nothing but great memories and a lot of things we took from Brixton, man, that we still today we practice it about life, period,
What were your first impressions of London? Coming from Sudan and Egypt and then coming to London, do you remember kind of your first impressions when you got here, your experiences, the sort of the big differences, maybe culturally, that kind of stick out in your mind?
Culture was different because the first thing obviously is the language. We didn't speak English that well because we're not accustomed. Like we can hear people speaking. So obviously the infrastructure is totally different. Those are the memories that is still stuck in my head. But Over there is just like a culture. You try to stay quiet, you observe everything around you and stuff like that. But it was a different culture shock in a way, you know.
And then those early practices with Jimmy, like what were your first impressions of Jimmy, and kind of what were your memories of Topcats and kind of, I guess, your experiences there?
The first experience is like the runs were good. If you come to Brixton and you're not ready to work hard and run, then you shouldn't be there. Those are the first thing. Everybody was in good shape, you know. So in order to fit in, you have to be tough. You know, you're gonna run, and you're not only gonna run because you make mistake. You're gonna run because other people make mistakes as well. So it's a team game. Understanding is a team game, and it's hard work, and hard work will get you places. Those are the first thing, the impression that comes to mind. And obviously, the greatest voice of all time, Jimmy's voice, is it's the first thing you can hear, man. I still hear it to this day.
And so what teams were you playing for? Like, obviously, if you were here a year and a half ish before you ended up going to the States to high school, kind of, were you playing for Brixton under 16s, under 18s, under 19s, under 17s, whatever it was back then, like juniors, or were you playing for the senior team as well? Kind of, in terms of actual competing, like what squads were you representing?
I was playing with the juniors. I was playing with the 18s, under 18, and then I played with the men at the same time.
And how did you feel like you were competing on the floor? Like, was it clear at that point that you were pretty talented?
Yes, it was. It was clear because prior to that, obviously, you practice and they have a lot of run at Brixton, so people get to see you and you get to see others as well. One thing I would say, like when I came to Brixton, most of the guys under 18 were very talented in squad, that went on and actually played professionally as well. So it's just like for them to welcome you and to play with them, they make the game so much easier for you as well. So it wasn't like I came in and stood out to do it myself. It was just a team. And practice were actually tougher than games for us, and that's how we all got better.
Who were some of those names that you were playing with at Brixton?
Brixton, Sean Gray, Uganda, Marvin, Eddie, Marvin Ambroses, Daniel Sandell, who else? Kevin, and a lot of guys, man. That's I'm sure while we go on, some more guys, some more names will come in my head. Rashid, yeah, tough guys, man.
When you talk about some of these standout names within the British basketball landscape at that time that you kind of remember, not necessarily from Brixton, but like the teams that you were playing against, other sort of top talents. Are there any names that stand out that you remember playing and thinking, this guy's really good, this guy's really talented, that you kind of still remember to this day?
Man, obviously the first guys that you remember is Joe White and his team, of course. Rest in peace to Joe White. The whole Joe White team was just tough to Andrew Sullivan, of course. And if you go around, it's just not just in my era. Like to look at talented guys that I came across. You have Yorick Williams, who was really tough since he was young. That dude could jump from the free throw line. He can defend. He can do all kind of things. Actually, I played with him in the Brighton. And I always tell him, man, pass me the ball. But it was great. You got Uganda. Uganda was one of the guys that not a lot of people talk about him, but what he has done in NCAA is incredible. He's athletic. He's gifted offensively, And defensively, man, he locked people down. You know, he's out there looking like Scottie Pippen. And then you have Rashid. Rashid was tough. Rashid was really tough.
Was that Rashid Quadri?
Yeah, Rashid Quadri.
Yeah.
Defensively, offensively, he was really tough. And man, who else? It's a lot of guys, man. Pierre was tough. You know, DeMajor was tough.
DeMajor Stewart, Pierre, Henry Fontaine.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the guys I can remember for now.
Yeah.
But Andrew Sullivan is one of the guys that we always go up when we played them with the London Towers. He was gifted, man. He's gifted athletically, defensively. Sometimes, like obviously, you see, but he has, and he's just a winner. Even when he was with the Great Britain team, he put in a lot of work that people don't notice that because he's very on ball, off ball, and very tough, man. And he changed a lot. Like even the GB team that played in Olympics is most of the games were close games, you know. And a lot of people would talk about Pops and would talk about Luol and whatnot, but other things that Sullivan did a remarkable job on a lot of guys in those things and changes the game in a way, you know.
The move to the States, I believe it was actually Tony Hansen who first saw you and actually called UConn and said that there's a kid here that you kind of need to keep an eye on or whatever, and that was how that move to the States first came about.
Yeah.
What are your memories of kind of leaving the UK, going to the US, like how it did come about, what the process was? I believe Calhoun even came to Brixton to kind of watch you practice. I would kind of love to hear your memories of that.
From when I was recruited with basketball, actually it started a little bit in Egypt with Manute Bol, and some teams were interested, but obviously that never happened. So when we came in London, it was different schools, and obviously Tony Hansen, my guy, he was one of the guys that spoke to UConn, and actually my other cousin that lived in the States, his name is Edward Borna, and that's when Calhoun came down to watch me play. And, you know, he watched me play and they were very interested. But obviously at the time I still had to go to high school and whatnot. So for me, it's like, man, it's a dream. I just want to go to US. I just want to go and see and where my talent can take me. So playing with Calhoun coming down, I agreed that like I committed early. You know, even though that when I went to the States, I have so many people. Actually, Syracuse, I don't know who told Syracuse heard about me when I was in London, and they actually contact us. You know, they want me to go there. So, but obviously by then, UConn was doing the best they can do, and they recommended the school for me, which is St. Thomas More, and and then went there, and the rest was history.
So did you have, at that point when you were in England, outside of Syracuse and UConn, did you have other colleges that were kind of aware, or were you kind of like a secret? And I'm assuming after you went to the States and high school, that was when obviously your profile started blowing up and you started getting, I would assume, a lot more people trying to contact you. But like, what was the interest like whilst you were in the UK? Were you still very much under the radar?
By the time when I was under the radar when I was at UConn, but when I was in England, I mean, when I went to St. Thomas More, obviously because this is we got to play a lot of competition, so I got to be seen. You know, that's when everybody started hearing about me, and going to St. Thomas More actually and playing under Jerry Quinn, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me basketball wise, because this is all boys boarding school, So all I got to do is go to school and just play basketball, and that's all I wanted to do, So from early 6 in the morning, go to classes and then practice with the team. But with Jerry Quinn, he allowed me to handle to play in pretty much every position in the game. I got to handle the ball. I got to bring the ball up. I got to play the two. He has an offense where everybody moves. So he utilized my skill very well. From the passing ability to where he put me defensively and how blocking shots and whatnot. So it was one of the biggest moves. And obviously, not to say that certain skills I didn't have when I was at Brixton. It just I didn't have the need for it to use them at the time because I was the biggest guy on the team. So going to St. Thomas More, I got to play all kind of position, and then coming back, and that's when Rough and Ready was showing my handles and stuff like that, because it's just the improvement that was happening.
When you talk about your physical growth and development, obviously, I think you're 6'11". At what point were you clearly tall? Were you 13, 14, 6'8", 6'9"? By the time you went to the States, 16, 17. How tall were you? And kind of, I guess, what position had you naturally been playing? I guess before St. Thomas More.
When I started playing basketball, I was just a little over 6 feet or so. But there's a year where I just went, boom. I just grew so fast, just left like what the hell just happened to you? If you see me this year, the next year is like the growth spurt was just like crazy. And that's when I started playing basketball, we did not have a structure. All we just did is just you go out there and do whatever you want to do, type of thing, because it's just a pickup, So yeah, I grew that time very fast, and coming to London. Actually, in London they allowed me to play with Jimmy and Jabbar, and I played inside, I played outside, but mostly was just shooting. I didn't handle as much as I did afterward. But a lot of coaches that I came across, besides obviously Jimmy and my high school coach, is mostly they at the time, big man with skills, you have to play under the basket, So it's always when in the top of the perimeter, good try, But now I see everybody's like, what are you doing down there? Shoot a three. So the change is so much different, So, but I'm grateful that I had coaches that allowed me to use my skill the way I wanted to play, just being a basketball player rather than just a position player.
Yeah, I guess for context for people, and that's, when people talk about, your playing days, it was kind of, you were ahead of your time, at 6'11", you could handle the ball, you could pass the ball, you could shoot the ball, you could play on the perimeter. Were there other players that you were looking up to as inspiration for that? Or was it very much just kind of, when you went to the States, your coach there said, you can start handling the ball a little bit and being on the perimeter, and it just kind of happened naturally? Or were there players before you, whether it's in the NBA or elsewhere, that you'd looked at as inspiration and said, you know what, regardless of my size, I want to be able to do a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it goes back to how I watch the games. Is from the very start, I had this mentality. It's like the NBA is the highest league that you can go to. So whenever I watch the NBA, I always watch everyone. For some reason, I watch from the point guards to the big man to guys that just come in and set picks and rebound. I always thought that if they are in the NBA, they're in the NBA for a reason. So maybe let me pick or understand or see what position they play and what they do and why this person is on a court or why that person is on a court. So I try to study every player, from watching the Jordan, the Gary Payton to all the way to Scottie Pippen, to Hakeem Olajuwon, to Dikembe Mutombo, to Chris Dudley, I just watch it all, So, and the thing is always, if I like a move, I will go and do it. And I would just go to the court and do it over and over and over. Because a lot of people think that some of my skills, they just come easy to me, but it's just so much work that I have to put in on one move. Just like I got to get this move because I like it. In basketball, you will never use so many moves, but the more you learn, you'll come in a situation where your reaction got to be like a 1 second reaction type of thing. And you make a move right away. So the more moves you have, the more, you have, you have weapons,
Yeah.
So that's how I looked to the game.
There's obviously still a couple of grainy clips on YouTube. One which I feel like most likely would have been filmed by Greg Tanner, streetball.co.uk, and kind of you got to go on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And you're winding up with a crossover, and you give him the left to right Allen Iverson sort of shake, which again for a guy your size was just something that wasn't really seen. When you think about those moves, like who were you looking at to develop that handle? Which players were you looking at and seeing that and saying, this is what I'm going to learn to be able to do?
The crossover move was most of the time the guy I watch is either Stephon Marbury and Grant Hill. Like Iverson has the speed, Stephon Marbury has speed. They have different crossover, Iverson will cross you over because his speed is ridiculous, and left to right and right to left is ridiculous. Stephon Marbury is a little different than Iverson. And then Grant Hill always looked like a slow-mo, but it wasn't a slow-mo, It's just that little cross and then boom, it got you. And he has a quick first step, So I just look into different ones. But those three guys, I always look into how they handle the ball, and how they go about it.
Do you find you were able to catch a lot of defenders off guard? Like, because you would receive the ball on the perimeter and they would think, well, this is just going to be like every other big guy. He's not going to be able to do anything. He's just going to pass it. And then you'd sort of face them up and then put some move on them and be able to get to the hoop or whatever. Like, were you catching a lot of guys because of your size and what you're able to do with the ball?
Yeah, a lot of people that I played against, sometimes they don't know that I will handle the ball like that. And some defender could be quicker than you. But sometimes you can size them up too. You can come in between the legs and go left. The next time you can come back and go left again. The third time you go left again. The fourth time he's thinking that you're going left and boom, you cross him over and he's gone, So you just got to play. You can't size them up that them understanding that you're about to come and cross them over. Yeah.
So how many years of high school did you do?
I did 2 years.
So you went out for your junior year and senior year?
Yeah, I went senior year and postgraduate, actually.
Okay.
Because at the time I had to get, I didn't have all of my grades, so I had to do an extra year.
And then in terms of your game translating from the UK to the US, did you find that, like, how different did you find the game between sort of playing in Brixton and then playing at St Thomas More? And did you find you were able to translate your skills relatively easily across between the two?
No, from the beginning, when I went to St Thomas More before the season started, we were playing AAU basketball, and it was my first game in AAU basketball. Obviously, we were playing pickups and stuff like that, but pickups is pickups. So the first game, I played against this guy. I can't remember who it was, but all he did is just body me, and the game was faster. It's like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here, So I stopped playing his type of game in a way, just trying to be physical, and he's being physical, and I wasn't thinking about the game at that time. So it's just like, that's like, welcome to the US. This ain't going to be easy type of thing, So it's just a good reminder right away that if you want to get wherever you want to get, you have to really, put in work. You got to go in and bust your butt and put in some work to get to where you want to get. So that was my introduction to basketball in the US.
When you talk about the work that you put in, the work ethic, like you said, you go to St Thomas More. It's in the middle of nowhere. You just got your studies and you just got basketball. What was a typical day looking like? How early were you getting up? What sort of training were you doing? How much team practice were you having? How much were you working on your own individual skills as well?
But in St. Thomas More, usually in the morning, I was on a scholarship. So on the scholarship, I had to wake up early. At the time, I have to clean the dishes in the cafeteria, part of the scholarship, So I will wake up at 5 a.m. I know I got to get there before all of the students get there. So as soon as they come in, I obviously clean up the dishes and just I have my breakfast early before everybody else, and then clean the dishes and try to run. I usually go and run on the track in the morning, and then I just shower and go to classes. And from the classes, after the classes we have practice. Before the season, obviously, it's just individual workouts, and then you play scrimmages and whatnot. But when the season is started, we have the practice with the coach, and the coach was very good. So we work on our game after, but you have study hall after that. So, but you have the weekend as well where you're free, where you just be on a basketball court the whole weekend,
Yeah.
And we didn't go anywhere. We were just in the school.
So, at what point did it really start clicking, and did your profile start growing? I've got your numbers, which I'm assuming they're from your final year at St Thomas More. You averaged 22 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks a game. Obviously, pretty solid numbers. But yeah, at what point did you feel it was really clicking, and did other people start taking notice of this 6'11" kid who can do a bit of everything, who's dominating?
I think most of it was I was in St. Thomas More because our prep school competition was high, and also in summer league in Connecticut. So I used to go to the summer league and play where all of the pros guys that playing pros come at the time was you have Ray Allen, you have Katina Mobley, you have Vin Baker, Marcus Camby, all of those guys that used to come. So I was younger and I was playing, and when I started playing against them, I started doing well, So that's when a lot of people started talking about me at the time.
And you'd already made your commitment to UConn. I guess there was a lot of, was there still a lot of college interest? Was there any part of you that sort of started thinking, I've got a lot more options, I'm going to potentially reconsider and go somewhere else? Or was it always very much, UConn's where I'm going to go, that's where I committed early and I'm going to see that through?
I committed early, so I was loyal, So I committed early, and I have pretty much maybe every school was recruiting me. But Arizona, my high school coach was high on Arizona, as far as I remember, because he felt like my game would have fit with Luol Olson at the time. And then you have, Arenas, Richard Jefferson, all of those guys that were playing at that time. So he think that Arizona was a perfect fit for my game before I went to UConn. But I already committed to UConn, and I was like, nah, I'm straight up going to UConn,
And so during the summers, you were coming back. I'm assuming during the summers, whilst you were at high school, you were coming back and playing in Rough and Ready. Had that already started, or was it not until you went to college that you were coming back in the summers and playing in Rough and Ready?
I used to come back. The first Rough and Ready, I'm not sure what year it was.
I think it was about 96.
I think it's
about 96. The
96.
First one.
It's just before I left. I left UK for the US, and I think that's when I was 17. That's when I got the MVP. My first year that they gave an MVP. As I remember, they gave me a big trophy. It was my mom still have, and a TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to Matthew Ryder and Hosanna at the time, where they were doing an incredible job. And I remember Matthew Ryder always used to come when I was in St. Thomas More, and actually he used to come too when I was at UConn. You're like, Joe, man, got the Rough and Ready. Everybody's coming this year. I'm like, I'm in. I'm coming. So yeah, they did an incredible job with that.
That's when people kind of talk about you. There's all these legendary stories from Rough and Ready. Like, what are your memories of Rough and Ready? What made the tournament so special? And I guess, what are the standout sort of moments or games that come to mind when you think about your times playing in Brixton for Rough and Ready?
Rough and Ready. First of all, Brixton runs was on a Sunday. On a Sunday where we used to have most of the great players around London, they used to come on a Sunday. So pretty much it's like put 5 teams together, like maybe 6 teams or 7 teams or something like that. You win, you stay on the court. Those runs used to be crazy. It used to be people used to go at it. And obviously when Rough and Ready came and it split into region, it became like everybody was like, yo, it's going to be a dogfight. So everybody wanted to win. And everybody wanted to play against the best competition that they could play against, So it was hard to find that. So when a competition like that comes through and, there's a trophy and, there's just a packed gym, it's everywhere. And it becomes everything, So every year it comes, there's a lot of talk about that. There's this, the guys from the South, the guys from everybody's like, yo, we're going to see you this year. We're going to see you this year. Maybe you won that last year, but we're coming through this year. So it became a really competition where in the off season, you're going to go there and get yourself better because you know that if not working on your game, all of the other guys are going to be coming in working on their game. They're going to be coming in ready. And you don't want to have that, and that's one of the greatest thing about Rough and Ready, is you put the game way up.
Are there any legendary battles that stick out in your mind? I'm sure I remember people telling me about you versus Drew Sullivan at Rough and Ready.
Yes, us and Drew Sullivan, not just Rough and Ready with Joe White team. And we are always going at it, we're watching each other. They win, we win here. They win, we win. But we always feel like we're ready. We know what the days we're going to play them. Because maybe they beat us last year or they beat us the game before. We got to go back and beat them, So it's always that's how I highly talk about Andrew Sullivan, because those are the battles, got us all better.
Do you think during the summers when you were coming back, people were aware of the attention that you were getting in the States, or was because of the fact that you had left, were you kind of starting to go under the radar in the UK, kind of people had forgotten about you because they weren't seeing you during the season?
Yeah, because when Matthew Ryder again used to come and he used to tell me that all the time that, yo, you need to come back. Everybody is talking about you. Everybody's want to come. Everybody want to come. Want to see, and Rough and Ready this year, all of the players. So at that time, actually, it was hard to see guys go into Division I, or go into the US and let alone do well. And when you do well, you make noise. So it becomes like, okay, maybe he make it. He's doing well in the school. I can go and make it as well. Not saying that I was better than everybody else, but my opportunity maybe came before other guys.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I just it just with that it's a buzz, and part of that too is just like, okay, we have an opportunity. Like guys can come out of from Brixton or from East London or from South London, whatever. To go to the US and get a scholarship and get to play and follow the dreams.
And so when it came to sort of finishing high school, going to UConn, that first year, were you academically ineligible? You kind of had to sit out that first season?
Yeah, I had to sit out because I was short with my SATs. So I think, I just missed it. So I never got to play. I had to sit out. I have to be redshirted. But I was just part of the team. I was playing. I was practicing. I was doing everything besides just being in the game, and actually being in the practices and playing in practices and doing your thing all of the guys that get to see you. You know, at the time it was Richard Hamilton, Khaled Al-Amin, you know, Jake Vasco, Kevin Freeman, Ricky Moore, all of those guys. And we got to win the championship, you know. So I got to have the NCAA ring. I didn't play in the game, but I was just part of the team, which I still, you know, have. My friends have the rings now. So it's cool, but it's actually great experience to be around that team.
What was it like stepping foot on campus for the first time and kind of, I guess, experiencing college life and college basketball in that first year?
It was different to me because where I was coming from, a school where it was about maybe 400 kids in that school, you know. So going to the university, it was just totally different. Being in a big arena. Actually, UConn had two arenas, one in downtown where like maybe 20,000 people, and another one on campus with 10,000 people. So it's just like it's a totally different environment. But maybe at the time, 14 to 15,000 students on campus, you know, and you have classes maybe 3-4 hours a day, 4 days a week or something like that. So it wasn't like what you were accustomed to at the school. So you have a little bit of time, but you also got to pass and you got to do well in the school in order to play. So it was just totally different and trying to fit in and whatnot. But it was an easy fit in because we had a great chemistry with that time with the team, and that's one of the reasons we won the championship at the time. So all of the guys that were there, they make it easy for you.
You know, you said that obviously you weren't able to play in the actual games, but you were practicing with the team all year. You know, you've got two future NBA players in Richard Hamilton and Khalid Al-Amin. When you talk about sort of matching up at practice and how you were doing on the floor in those practices, did you find it relatively okay? Like, did you feel you were easily able to compete, or did you still feel like, you know, you were a bit younger and you kind of had more development to do? Like, when you're talking about, you know, matching up with future pros, kind of where did you see yourself fitting in comparison to them?
Actually, before that, because I was exposed to some of the pros in the summer league, you know, so I got to play against some of the pros and you know, Lamar Odom and Ray Allen, as I said earlier. So just coming in, I did not feel at all that I wouldn't make it or I wouldn't fit in. I thought that just like I have my game too. Like, you know, I'm coming in with confidence that hey, if I'm here, I'm here. You know, let's just get to work. You know, type of thing. So I didn't feel that. Oh, I felt like it just having a great team where if I do the best I can do, I can learn from some of the guys in here, you know.
Yeah, and then winning that national championship, was it difficult for you to kind of be a part of it, but obviously not be a part of it on the floor? Like, did you find that really challenging, and I guess something that maybe added motivation for the next season, sort of coming in, or were you kind of very much just, you know, I accept it is what it is, like this is the way it's got to be for this year?
I mean, it is what it is, but as a basketball player. You know, every basketball player want to get on a court, period. You know, that's your, no matter what it is. And just having a year off, you can work on your game and you can get better, but it's nothing like playing in the game. It's nothing like seeing the work that you have been doing all year and put them in a situation where you see how much you have improved and whatnot. So sitting there, it hurts a little bit, but it is what it is, you know. You just got to accept it, and what do you do next, you know, to keep it moving?
So then heading into the next year, like obviously there's the famous Sports Illustrated article, which is always spoken about, where you had a kind of a feature talking about, you know, your level of talent, how good you could be, and there's a real famous quote when a reporter asks Khalid Al-Amin about you, and he says you're the best player on. This was when you were in your first year before you were playing, and he said you're the best player on the team, and the reporter said, well, outside of you and Richard Hamilton, and he was like, no, you're the best player on the team. When that article came out, you know, I assume, like, obviously you read it. Like, what was your reaction to reading it and seeing that, and kind of, I guess, seeing the attention that you were getting and the belief that other people had in kind of how good you were and could be?
I mean, it goes back to obviously being 6'11" and playing and practicing and doing things that not a lot of 6'11" do. So it becomes like, man, what the hell is this type of thing? So obviously, for me, it's a great feeling when you have your teammate thinking up highly about you like that, just practicing with them and playing with them like that. So it's something that I take proudly, but I don't take it lightly as well. You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of things. You have a lot, so the name is out there. The hype is out there. Everything is out there. When you get to play, are you ready? What do you get to do, to prepare yourself to come in and play and show people that what you're capable of.
Did you feel pressure?
I mean, I always feel pressure before I play every game, But as soon as I play, it's a basketball, You just go in there and do your thing. So I didn't feel the pressure.
And so going into that first season on the court, playing, kind of what were your expectations of yourself going in? And then I guess how did the reality meet those expectations or not meet those expectations? Like, kind of what were your own expectations? What were you expecting out of yourself on the court? And then I guess how did that first season go for you?
The first season, I would say, it was for me. It was okay season. I wish I could have done more or played more, but at the same time, it's like a lot of people don't know this. I was playing with an injury at the time, so I had an injury on my foot where I could not really work out. I couldn't do thing. I was just take 4 Advil a day to practice, So I just do that, and then in the games, take 4 Advil and practice. So what it is, my foot was in pain where I could not really walk that much, or play that much. So what I do is just try to go to classes, come back, do my stretching. Before practice, I take my pills and then practice. And obviously, they took X-ray and everything, and they used to tell me it's tendonitis. But years later, it turned out to be like way more than that, and I needed a reconstruction surgery, with that. So, I mean, part of it is I should have took an MRI. Part of it is school. Part of it is myself. I should have looked after myself as well. But at the same time, I was just a comparator. I thought, like, if I can get on the court, I can get on the court and I can play, So that's part of the thing that I had to go through with when I was at UConn. It's just part of life, part of the game.
Did you feel, there's all these stories about kind of players that are injured or whatever, where a college program might put some type of pressure on them to play. It's a storyline you see in movies as well a lot, like where rather than putting the individual player first, they're putting the program first and saying, we need you to play to win or whatever. And so as a result, you might not get the medical treatment that you necessarily need. Like, was there any part of you that felt kind of like pressured to, I guess, almost play down the seriousness of the injury? Because like you said, you did end up having to have reconstruction surgery on your foot, a couple years later, right?
I mean, I don't know about a lot of people's stories and whatnot, but for me, going on the court, knowing that I have a pain in my foot, but there's nothing showing in X-ray, really. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, okay, maybe you need to strengthen it, or maybe you need to do this. But actually what it was is like the tendon that is connected to your leg, we're already popped, we're gone. So it's just like a bone-to-bone type of thing. So it was just a painful, but I wouldn't say that the school had put it was a pressure for me to play. Maybe it's just what they see, and sometimes some people can just see maybe you're not tough or you're not trying to play or something like that. But when you have pain, you're the only one that understands your body more than anybody else,
100%. Were you getting, you kind of slightly alluded to it there, but were you getting sort of blowback from fans or other people about kind of like why you weren't playing more or performing at a higher level with kind of the hype that you had around you?
It's just, for me, it was like, okay, yeah, I wanted to play even when I'm injured, But obviously, sometimes when you playing injured, you feel like you're still at your best. But sometimes you're not really at your best, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of things like maybe your game is slowed down and stuff like that. And that's kind of happened to me years to come, that I had to change my game after my surgeries and stuff like that, because you can't explode anymore, and you can't do the things that you used to do or run the same way that you used to do. So you find a way to do other things and becomes a shooter or becomes something different. So it's not easy. It's not easy to play with an injury.
At the same time, in amongst all of this, you're kind of, I guess, living your dream in the US, and at the same time, there's obviously all this stuff going on in Sudan and the civil war. Did you find that to be challenging mentally as well, knowing that back home there was all this this strife and this war and this and these problems? Did you find that to be a distraction at all, or was it very much kind of you were able to focus on your basketball stuff whilst you were there?
I mean, it's more it helps you in the way, I mean, obviously everything about war is sad. Anything to do with, people losing lives or people fleeing from their own country and stuff like that because of unrest that happening, is always not a good place to be. But for me, it's always a mentality where things can be worse, and also there's so many other kids that would do anything to be in a place where you're at right now, So you have that opportunity, you have that chance to not just make a name for yourself, do something great as well. So, and I know a lot of South Sudanese at the time, they're watching and they look at me as a guy that, you made it to the U.S., you made it to university, you are very lucky. So that's you to do well, not just for yourself, but for everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. So going into the second year, it was the second year, I think, that you ended up obviously leaving, announcing you were transferring mid-season. Is that right?
Yeah, it's mid-season. It started really with like maybe 5 games or so into the season. And I just, at the time, I was like, man, I don't think, like, the way things are right now, I don't think it will be a good place to be. So I wanted to leave. And that's the time, I think Karan Butler, Talik Brown, and those guys were in the team. So I decided that, okay, it's maybe for me to make a change, I want to go somewhere where I can play. That's what I made up my mind. They really wanted me to stay. The coach wanted me to stay, and he believed that more great things to come ahead. But I just wanted to change. I became unhappy, because it's just like, it's like the injury you're going through, you're in pain, and then you feel like you can play, but you're really not doing the things that you used to do, but in your mind that you feel like you're doing that. And you want to play, so it's just like, it's so many things are going on. So it's like, okay, let me find a fresh start. Let me go somewhere and start somewhere, Yeah. And that's when Fairfield University came up.
Yeah, I found one of the original articles that announced that you were transferring, and kind of had some quotes from Calhoun in there, basically talking about the fact that you wanted to play more, and he was essentially saying that he wanted you to stay, but you were very much feeling like you wanted a fresh start. And at that point, the article actually said that even though it was Fairfield and someone else, Central Connecticut State maybe, had showed interest, like you were actually at that point talking about going out of state and trying to go as far away as possible to kind of like have a completely fresh start. What I guess what made you decide to go to Fairfield? Why did you feel like that was the place for you? Was there one of your former assistants from UConn that was coaching there at that point?
No.
No,
They
that must be somewhere else.
no, it was actually it was the Fairfield. Like when I wanted to leave UConn, I was like, okay, let me make a choice where I can go and just play. You know, it wouldn't matter if it's a mid-major or is it big schools. You know, there's some big schools that want me to go to, but I was just like, let me just make a choice. That choice that Fairfield recruited me, Tim O'Toole and Jerry Hobby. Jerry Hobby actually played with my cousin when they were at Fordham University. That's an assistant that you were probably talking about. So he's one of the guys that I knew before, and they just made it easy for me when I come to Fairfield University, and what type of position that they will put me in, and how they're going to utilize my talent and whatnot and stuff like that. So it made sense, and it was closer, and it was in Connecticut, and that's why I decided to go there.
In amongst all of this, were you still thinking, I want to go to the NBA, that's the goal? Or were you more thinking, I want to just have a successful college career and get back to sort of enjoying the game, showing what I can do, getting healthy, showing what I can do? Kind of what was your mindset and your future trajectory, your goals at that point?
My goal always been, obviously goal has always been to make it to the NBA, and I felt like whenever I can go and I can showcase my talent and I can do whatever I need to do, I'll be able to make it, So being a Fairfield, it was that. The thing is, leaving University of Connecticut, I was still injured, so I haven't dealt with my injury yet, So going to Fairfield, I got to sit out a semester, and I think I played around December. Yeah, around December, and then I had a good season, but and I had second team All MAC or something like that. But at that time, I was still playing in pain. I was still the painkillers and doing the same thing. So I never really got to work on my game. And that summer after the season, I got to go and see a doctor in New York, and that's when I took the MRI and look at my foot, and that's when they found out that I've been playing with, I didn't have tendon, and my whole foot is pretty much damaged that I would need a reconstruction surgery, So that's when I got the reconstruction surgery, pretty much, and then I got to sit. I came back at the end of the season playing like 5 minutes the following year. And that was it. That was really my career, like 4 years with probably a year and a half playing with injuries and whatnot.
Wow. When you look back on your college career, do you have any regrets about, I don't know, whether or not you're taking the injury more seriously and trying to see more doctors, or do you think at the time, based on what you knew, like you'd seen, you'd done the X-rays, they weren't showing anything, kind of you had done everything that you thought you were meant to be doing and couldn't quite work out what the issue was?
No, I do not regret anything, because I'm a believer anything happened for a reason. Whatever, your road is your road, that's your purpose in life. Wherever it leads you, it will lead you, So for me, it's all like experience, it's challenges that you face. How would you try to face those challenges, and go on forward with that, So even like leaving, I think as we was leaving Fairfield after I finished, I had some workout, and the funny thing is I had the workout, and I was gonna have workouts in the front of NBA scouts and whatnot and stuff like that. So I'm coming in, I feel good, So I'm warming up. So just at the warm up, I hear a pop. It's just like, what the hell is going on? I broke my fist metatarsal, on my leg, on my foot, just before I just start, going in. So I'm like, man, what the hell? I think it's, I called Lou Luol at the time, he knew a doctor that he was a friend. The doctor's son that used to go to school with him. So I was like, yo, I just hurt my foot. Dr. Scott, that's the name actually. Can you book an appointment? I'll go see them. So I'll go see the doctor. And they told me it's like the way my foot is, it's like if you continue playing, you're always gonna actually break it. I really didn't want to listen to that. I was like, no way I'm listening to this, So I went to see my same doctor that did my surgery. So he was like, okay, what we can do is we will put the biggest screw on your fifth metatarsal of the bone, and hopefully it will be okay, to go on and play. So I did it, and I did the surgery, and that's when I came back to London. And when I came back to London and I rehab and I started working out, I think it's London Towers or Crystal Palace at the time. It was a Crystal Palace anyway. And I actually broke it a little bit, my foot running. So I was like, man, the doc is right, So I was like, but no way I'm stopping. So I just I rehabbed that whole year, just rehab and working out. And then I got to go to the summer. I got to work out for Brighton, Nick Nurse. And, Nick Nurse took me, and I started playing, and I couldn't believe, I couldn't believe that I was going to play. So, it goes back to when I think about it, it's probably the most thing that I'm proud about more than anything else, So that's why I don't really look into that. I regret whatever happened to me. I don't regret that because I didn't think that I will even play again, going on and playing in the BBL and end up playing for Brighton, and end up playing for Scottish Rocks and Guildford and whatnot. So for me, I was happy, and I was just like, okay, how can I, move on, and how can I keep improving, and how can I get better, it's stuff like that. It takes you back, but it helps you a lot with everything that I do now, the mentality that when you have challenges and how to face challenges and how to go about things. And it's a great life experience, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, anytime you, it's that thing, anytime you go through hardship, at the time, it's obviously not very pleasant and it's not something that you're enjoying, but years later, you can always look back on it and say, well, those lessons and the things that I can have taken away from that have helped me in so many other ways, which you don't realise at the time, when obviously it's just incredibly frustrating. So that first year after college, you spent the entire season, that was rehabbing and getting your foot right, and then when you signed with Brighton, which was, I guess, essentially your rookie contract, that was actually a year after you had left college.
Yeah, a year after I left college, and then I sat out. After I left college, I sat out 1 year.
Yeah.
And then I just rehabbed, and then I went to Brighton.
And that Brighton roster was pretty solid, no? What are your memories of your year in Brighton?
Yeah, it was really a great of guys that we were playing together, and I remember starting practices and whatnot. Drew, Yorick, Tony Holly, Ryan Huntley, Duncan, Steve Lepore. We started the season really hot. We were beating everyone pretty much, We were beating everyone. We got to the cup finals, the trophy finals, but then most of the guys got hurt. And at the time, there's a time where we were like 4 guys. Only 5 guys. Only 5 guys are playing. So you have to recruit 1 more, 2 more guys to be on the bench in case of, So you got 4 guys playing 40 minutes, and it was just it became it took a toll on us. Yeah. We were good. We were obviously Nick Nurse is a hell of a coach, a great mind, a great thinker. Yeah, he always, and you can see by what he's doing in the NBA today. So It was a great team. I wish we stayed more years together.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we only played 1 year, and that was it. You
I,
know.
I was going to say, obviously Nick Nurse is one of the success stories of the BBL in terms of using it as a proving ground to hone his skills, and now has gone on to doing great things in the NBA. Was it clear at that
So,
point, playing under him? Were you thinking this guy has sort of got a lot of talent and he's a very good coach and has potential to do a lot more than just coaching in the BBL? Or was it still so early in his career that maybe it wasn't so obvious? Like, what are your memories of him as a coach back then?
my memories of him is he's a coach where he, like, from what I see, like, he understands and he sees talent, you know, and you can tell by the way he recruited his players. Even prior to my time that going to Brighton, he has hell of a team before that, and they were doing well. And his thing is always he put guys in a position to succeed offensively. And that obviously just knowing the guys' talent and what they're good at, and put them in a place where you're really good at, where either he's on a block, or either you're a good pick and roll guy, or you're good coming off the screen and all of that stuff. So he's really good at that, and you can see it now. You can see it in everywhere he has gone. He has won,
Yeah.
He won, and he continued to win.
So you did your season in Brighton, and then 2005, 2006, you were between Scottish Rocks and Guildford Heat. Is that right? Between the two?
Yeah, actually, after I left Brighton, and I don't know what it is, the same. I had to get a surgery. On my right foot, so I had to go back to the States. I got a surgery.
Was the original
And
surgery
then
on
I
your left
came
foot?
back. Yeah, left foot. That's
Okay.
my original surgery.
Okay.
So I had like maybe 3 surgeries on that, and then I have surgery on my right. So I went and I had my surgery, and then I came back and got back in shape and rehab, and got to play with. I went to Scottish Rocks for a couple of months. I did not play that much, and then I decided to go to Guildford. And
Despite all these injuries, like what was it that kept you going? Was it purely just a love of the game? Like, a lot of people in that situation, when you've been told by a doctor that if you keep on playing, you're going to keep breaking your foot and you should never really play again. At the same time, you're having a lot of injuries. Obviously, I mean, you're clearly super trying, and I think a lot of people at that point would just be like, do you know what, like, I'm done. I'm gonna hang them up, and I'm gonna look for a career where we're doing something else. What was it that allowed you to persist, that kept you kind of coming back to it and not giving up on it?
It's more to do with the love of the game, really, because that's how I started the game. In a sense, sometimes you don't think about it, but looking back to it now, it's just like challenges, to compete. You're looking for challenge, still believing that you are capable of doing it, and it becomes like a battle where your mind can give up right away on things and be like, call it a career, or you can look at it as in a different way and make things take it as develop a positive habits around it. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, if the good outweigh the bad, why not doing it? Why not challenge your brain to see where it can take you?
Yeah.
So those are the things that, when you look back to it, that's how I think about it. And it's a hell of a ride, man.
Hell of a ride. I did want to quickly touch upon 2007, 2008 with Guildford. Excuse me. That was the season they went into Europe, right? And I'm pretty sure that was a season that almost bankrupted the entire club as well. I think.
Yeah.
What are your memories sort of playing for them? How was it competing in European competition? And and also I guess sort of behind the scenes, were you aware of the sort of the strain and the financial pressure the club was under from trying to compete in Europe?
Oh man, it was Actually, that team was very a great group of guys in that team. Um, Goes back. First, shout out to Mike Martin, man. I wish him a speedy recovery. Man, he's a warrior, man. He's going through a lot, but I'm sure that he will go through it. Man, we had a lot of great guys in that team. The chemistry was really great. Dean, Roderick. Just a lot of guys. Dukes, and just going and playing in Europe. It was easy because all of the guys wanted to win and everybody played together. PJ was the coach at the time, so it was good experience. It was good experience, even though we played against Ricky Rubio's and that they killed us in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a hell of an experience, and the team was good. The chemistry was good, and yeah. We did well in BBL at the time, and I think in the Cup as well.
And then the next year was your only stint outside of the UK as a pro, right? Which was in Slovakia for a little while.
Yeah.
How did that come about? And kind of, I guess, how did you compare your experiences in the BBL compared to playing on the continent in Europe?
Going there, obviously, my agent was looking for a different place rather than playing in the BBL. So we came up with a team in Slovakia that was interested in me, in Košice, Slovakia. And at the time, I agreed to go there. I would say, like, the talent is decent. I think any team in the BBL can compete there. The thing is about them was the availability of facilities and your workout. You get to work out whenever you want. You got early morning workouts and night workouts and stuff like that. And it's actually really helped me to get back. And actually, it was the best I have felt in a long time, since I had my injury. So I started feeling good, and that's when I played with them. And yeah, after that was it. I could have went on and play again, but after that, I just decided to hang them, and that's when I came to South Sudan.
Didn't you do your London Capitals after that?
Oh yeah, I did for a short time.
Season?
For a short time, for the same season, maybe like 4 or 5 games or something like that. I can't even remember. And then it was and that was it.
What made you to make that decision to hang them up?
It's just I thought it was time. I was older, and I'm like, okay, if I play 1 year or 2 more year or 3 more, I'm gonna hang them up anytime soon. And at the time, we were doing a lot with the foundation and basketball in South Sudan and stuff like that. So I was like, I'd rather just jump into that now rather than keep playing.
That primarily has been your role since stopping playing. It's working for the Luol Deng Foundation, sort of in a sort of basketball development role. Can you kind of explain? Can you kind of give us an explanation of kind of what it is that you do and what you've been doing?
With the basketball, it started really with the camps. I think the camp started 2005, maybe 2006, something around that time. With Daniel Seso at the time, and we used to talk with Lou, and Lou wanted to do the camp, and that's when we started doing the camp, and that was like my involvement was so in organizing, and it was also coaching in the camp and then developing. So that's been the role, and then it went on, and the camp changed, and Steve took over, and I just worked closely with Steve and Luol and whatnot to enhance the camp and see what it can be done every year, and obviously coaching.
We've kind of not really spoken about him, but it would be amiss to not mention Luol and see, I got something in my throat. Mention Luol and obviously the career that he went on to have. I'd be interested to kind of hear, like, I dug up a few different pieces talking about him saying that a lot of people kind of credit Manute for introducing him to the game, but he kind of said, well, actually, Manute taught you, and it was actually you that primarily taught him in his younger days, and sort of was his early basketball experiences. I guess that, seeing everything that he's done, I assume makes you feel incredibly proud. When you look back on the sort of the journey that he's been through and what he's done, like, what are kind of what's your kind of take on the whole situation? Like, when you look at it, at what point did you think this kid has a massive amount of talent and could go on to do great things? And are there any sort of nice stories about him as a young player coming up that stick out in your mind when you kind of realised sort of, I guess, how much talent he had and what he could go on to do within basketball?
Yeah, I mean, first it's like for us coming from a basketball family, it helps, Obviously, not just myself that played. My brother played. My sister Rick played. My other sister Cheer played. My brother Quay played. My other brother Deng Deng Dinamo played. So it's just, and Lou obviously. So around the house is all basketball. Everything is basketball. Obviously it's a big family, and we have a fight on TV, what tape we need to put into watch and stuff like that. With Luol was into football more than anything. So he was loving football. And actually, my brother, when I was in the U.S., that's when Luol started playing, when I went to U.S. And he was playing soccer at the time. But my older brother, Deng Deng, I think he's the one that took him to Brixton. And they started showing him, like, yo, you should come and play basketball. Basketball is a better sport. And then from there, it became, since then, he's stuck with basketball and he started playing. When I used to come back, obviously, he used to challenge me all the time. When I come back to Brixton, you want to play, let's play one-on-one and stuff like that. I was like, man, you're not ready, bro. With that, obviously, when you have brothers and, close friends and whatnot, they always compete in a way. Even if you're not competing physically, you compete in somewhere around, I look up to my older brother, Deng Deng, and obviously he's the guy that, I just want to pass him and whatnot. And Luol probably is the same. He want to pass me, want to pass Akwe, he want to pass Deng Deng and whatnot. So with that, it helps. So when he became good, you obviously, you ain't going to ask for another one-on-one anymore, So, but the thing about him is he fell in love with the game. But what people don't see or don't realize all the time, his work ethic was just incredible, and he did whatever he can do, to make it. And when he go into Blair Academy with my sister, it was actually my sister that was going to go. And it was my coach, one of the assistant coach, Carl Hobbs, is from UConn, that spoke with Blair Academy coach about my sister. And then Luol came along, and then I think I'm not sure, but Coach Montagna maybe was saying that if he was a half as good as a Joe, I would take him. But he went on and and became something special. So yeah, his work ethic was incredible. He worked on his game all the time. He trying to get better, and he has a mission. He had a goal, and the goal always is to reach the goal as high as his talent can take him, and not necessarily making money and succeeding. Is more of like the end goal. What is your end goal? Follow the end goal, and everything else will come. And yeah, so with that, he got to go on and have an incredible career with many different teams in the NBA.
Do you think you were able to, from your own experiences, having sort of, I guess, done a large part of that before he did, were you able to kind of give him advice and sort of, I don't know, keep him on certain pathways because of your own experiences that you'd had in the game? Do you think that sort of helped?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely helped in a way. The thing is about Lou was he used to come to when I was at Connecticut. He used to come and watch his practice, So he was always around college basketball, even when he was in high school. So those are the things that not just me saying, but you come in, you will see it right away that how hard you really need to work in order for you to follow and accomplish your dreams,
Yeah.
So around basketball, at home, we around basketball. So every conversation is basketball, everything is about the game that happened or what did you watch and it's stuff like that. So with that, conversations are always come and everybody pick up from everyone,
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of having a family that just really into basketball.
All right, I've got some shorter questions just to finish up with, some quick fire questions, which, I mean, your answers don't have to be quick. But starting with your favourite basketball memory.
My favorite basketball memory is Rough and Ready, where I came in and I faked the guy here and then fake it here and I put it behind my head.
I'm pretty sure that is somewhere on YouTube still, very grainy, but I think it is available somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Matthew Ryder, man, if you're listening, you need to release all of these basketball stuff. We need to watch them. Come on.
do you know what? Actually, I digitized all of the tapes for him years ago, and which put them on a hard drive and sitting there and getting to watch, all of the years.
Yeah.
I've only obviously heard the stories and never seen the footage, and to see it all is it's unbelievable. It's an absolute treasure trove, which I do hope sees the light of day at some point, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that want to see it. The best British player that you ever played against?
I would say Andrew Sullivan and York Williams.
The best coach you ever played for?
Say Jerry Quinn and St. Thomas More.
If you could change one thing about your basketball career, what would it be?
What it would be? I don't think I would change anything.
What advice would you give to a young player that has dreams of wanting to be a professional basketball player? What one piece of advice would you give them?
The piece of advice I would say, just work on your game, man. Work on your game. Follow your dreams. Do whatever it takes to do. Now, there's a lot of talent out there, but then study the game. Study the game. It will help you with a lot of different things. It will help you with IQ as well. So when you're on the court, you will know. Make it simpler for you and make the competition a lot simpler.
And then finally, what do you want your legacy to be? When people talk about Ajou Deng, how do you want to be remembered?
Just a good guy, man. Just a good guy. I love basketball and I love everyone. The rest of the legacy, my family knows, so that's good enough for me.
Perfect. Ajou, thank you so much for taking the time for doing this. Super interesting. I think people will really enjoy it, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Okay, I appreciate it, Sam, man. Thank you for having me, bro.